What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of FaceTurn with Candace Cordelia, a PWI production. I'm your host, Candace Cordelia, and today, my very special guest, he is one of the stars of Netflix's Snowflake Mountain, and he's also a professional wrestler. So we're going to get to talk about entertainment and wrestling all wrapped up into one amazing package. Please welcome my guest, the bougie brawler, Randy Wentworth. How are you?
Hey, that was a great introduction, but you missed a couple of nicknames. It's
Okay.
You are looking at the white collar, billion-dollar, big baller, bougie brawler, and now the one and only Swoleflake of Snowflake Mountain, Randy Wentworth.
See, I love that. I couldn't have done that like you, so I'm glad that you corrected me there. I think that was
No one can do it like me, but that was good. That was a good intro.
Thank you so much, Randy. And thank you also for being a part of FaceTurn. You know, we've had a lot of guests over the past first season. We're in the second season right now, but this is the first time that I'm speaking with someone who is currently starring in a Netflix production, as you mentioned, Snowflake Mountain. And, you know, first and foremost, congratulations. I've watched the whole first season.
Thank you.
It's awesome. You're so welcome. It's really great. It's my type of show. You know, I'm really into like MTV's The Challenge and a lot of these reality competition shows. But this one is quite different with the twists that are implemented within. And in case for everyone watching, if you don't know what the term snowflake is, it's definitely, or rather, if you look into quote unquote the Urban Dictionary, a snowflake is someone who doesn't take accountability. I hope I got that right. I'm saying it in the most diplomatic of terms.
Right. Yeah. So the big thing with this show is like when it came out of Snowflake Mountain, everybody was getting up in arms about the term like snowflake. So I think the show did like a really good job of they just put like, hey, here's our definition of snowflake. It's like young adults that don't take accountability, that get offended, that are like fragile. There's like, hey, here's our definition. I know everyone has all their different ones. It's a very volatile term nowadays. So I'm glad they just got that out of the way in the beginning.
100%. And for you as a part of the cast, you know, I don't want to say character because you're portraying yourself, but really, you know, you came into the show and the first impression that I got is that you were pretty chilled, laid back. You didn't strike me as someone that, you know, doesn't take a lot of accountability in life. And as time went on, we saw that you kind of put on this leadership role with many of the challenges, and you were kind of telling your castmates and kind of encouraging them along the way. So with that in mind, you know, how was that experience for you going into, you know, with this cast and being in the wilderness and just being a part of everything as time went on?
At the beginning, it was a lot to take in. I thought I was going into like a luxury resort, a villa type deal, and then all of a sudden we're dropped out in the wilderness. And if that's not enough, I got all these loud people with me. They're extra. They're complaining about everything. So on top of like being in the wilderness, having all these people, it was a lot to take in. But then a couple days got rolling. I got acclimated to like the situation, found out that they were like really great people. And I was able to just kind of like you said, take a little bit of a leadership role. And especially with the physical challenges, I mean, I'm a wrestler, so that stuff was pretty easy for me. So I could help guide people here and there. But once I got acclimated with everything, it was just ended up being a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And I'm not sure, and please do correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm stating something out of bounds. Were you a wrestler before entering Snowflake Mountain, or was this a career change that happened after the wrap up of Snowflake Mountain?
Yeah, I was a wrestler before Snowflake Mountain. That's actually how I kind of ended up on the show, because I was in a pre-med program in college, 4.0 student, honors program, everything. And then all of a sudden I just dropped out of school, moved back with my parents to try to become a pro wrestler. And now to me and you, I'm sure, and like wrestling fans, that's a cool story. It's awesome. Someone chasing their dream, becoming a pro wrestler. To my parents, that's like 80 steps back of I was supposed to be a doctor. And now here I am chasing this fantasy dream of being a pro wrestler. So that's kind of how I ended up on the show. They didn't think I was taking life seriously by being a pro wrestler. And so they're like, send them out there, get acclimated, grow up, go out into the wilderness.
Wow. And your parents do make an appearance on the show very briefly. And that whole segment was really interesting to me because your parents seemed very encouraging. They wanted you to do your best work. They seemed very supportive of you, and they wanted you to take the opportunity on Snowflake Mountain and use it to elevate yourself. What do they think now about you continuing to forge on with a wrestling career and also post Snowflake Mountain fame?
Yeah, that was super surprising for me. The fact that my parents were so supportive. And I think I realized that it was more just like me being ashamed because honestly, as a kid, I grew up loving wrestling. And then it kind of got lame. Once I got into the high school years, the middle, like it was embarrassing to be a wrestling fan. And so I like kind of like hid my wrestling fandom and I never really talked to anyone much about it. So my parents had no idea that I wanted to be a wrestler. So it was a super shocking like turn of events for me to go from med school to wrestler. But I think it was just because I was kind of ashamed, like looking at like it's not mainstream anymore. You know what I mean? Wrestling isn't mainstream. It's viewed as for kids. It's lame. And I kind of realized like, hey, I can't let my parents know I'm doing this super lame thing. So I wouldn't tell them anything. And they would think I was just being lazy all day doing nothing. Meanwhile, I'm putting in all this work, wrestling, training, going to the gym, reaching out to promotions, all of that. And they had no idea. So when I came home, I kind of realized like, hey, my parents are supportive. They were supportive of me in Snowflake Mountain and they just want me to be happy. So I have a better open line of communication with them now. And they're more supportive than ever now.
That's amazing. I mean, how do you keep being a professional wrestler and doing because there's a massive amount of training. You have to make sure that your accounting is on point with money for gear, for food, for gas, all of it. It's a completely different lifestyle than many people are familiar with. How do you keep that a secret from your parents?
I tried my best to keep it a secret from my parents. I actually worked for my parents to make money. So this was where there was a big pullback. I would work for my parents and then I would disappear after work and they wouldn't see me for the rest of the day. And like, oh, he's just upstairs watching TV, wasting his life away. Meanwhile, I'm at the Dudley's wrestling school for like 8 hours after I already worked for 8 hours trying to put in work. And I just wouldn't tell my parents anything about that.
Wow, that is, I don't know if I could do that. I mean, it's you were basically living a double life.
Yeah,
And I don't even think that would be being a snowflake. It sounds like you actually were very hardworking. You were really making sure that you were making a life for yourself and carving out a career. You just stated that you wanted to train or you were training with the Dudleys. Talk to us
right.
about that.
Yeah. So, like you said, a lot of people are saying, like, oh, he doesn't seem like a snowflake. I think it was the fact that my parents really saw me as a snowflake because I kept so much from them. So, just the lack of accountability, I guess, and like the open line of communication, where my parents thought I was like leaning on them too much when in reality, I was trying to do my own thing. But yeah, 2018, when I dropped out of college, like I could have stayed in college and tried to train on the side or whatever, but there's like a Tony Robbins quote, and maybe from somewhere else, it's like burn the boats, burn the ships. If I have this backup plan of going to school, it's going to take away from like chasing my dreams for wrestling. So I just dropped out. I said, I'm going to look up, I'm going to try to find the best school possible. It was the Dudley school. It was like 20 minutes away from me. It was perfect. I was like, all right, I'm going to spend as much time there possible, learning from the greats. And Serpentico of AEW actually there, he was like the lead trainer for me and really helped me like all through my beginning stages.
Oh my goodness. So you found one of the top premier schools to just
Yeah.
hone your craft, which is fantastic. And not many people can have that experience. What was that like for you being trained by Serpentico, getting that tutelage from him as well as the Dudleys and just being surrounded with other, aspiring wrestlers at the same time?
It was honestly like the perfect situation. Like Serpentico, he has years and years and years of experience on the indies. He knows what it's like to succeed out there. He knows what it's like to fail out there. He knows the ups and downs. And meanwhile, Devon, Bubba, they are Hall of Famers. They know what it is, what it's like to make it all the way to the top. So just having someone from each point of like the wrestling spectrum just giving you all your knowledge of the wrestling from today, the past, and teaching you about the future. It was just really all I could ask for.
Which year did you start training?
I started in 2018,
Wow.
and I am honestly so glad that I like dropped out of college to do that, because when I went the first day and I saw the stuff they were doing these crazy drills. They had like two 45 plates that they were just swinging over their head nonstop until failure. Some people were like crying from how painful it was. And like, if I was still in school, I would have visited and I would have saw that my first day and I would have just left. I was like, I can't do this. This isn't for me. But because I said, all right, I'm putting all my eggs in this basket, I was like, I got to at least see it through.
Oh my goodness. So for pre-med, which is a completely different field, also very grueling in a different way, did you tell any of your classmates or professors exactly why you decided to drop out?
No, I just kind of ghosted everyone. I had a couple close friends in college that I was like, hey guys, I'm doing this. It sounds crazy, I know, but like, there's no one that's going to change my mind. But there's actually one thing I remember is my freshman year orientation. Um, our like orientation leader was doing a thing where like we want to write our goals on a sticky note and he's going to post them all up on the board. And I wrote on mine, I was like, I want to be a WWE superstar. And I wrote that on mine. And so the orientation leader's going through with them. And he takes the WWE superstar one. He's like, guys, who wrote this one? Can you please be serious with your goals, please? And he like ripped it up and he's like, whoever wrote this, can you give me a new one? I was like, all right, I remember that. I remember that.
And it just fueled you to keep on going with your dreams and make it happen. That's profound. When was your first match?
My first match. So I was training for a while. I honestly got a couple concussions during training.
Hmm.
So a lot of people train for like maybe like 6 months before the first match. But me, I took so many breaks from like injuries and stuff like that. Uh, 2019, like a year and a half of training before I had my first match. 2019, and then I finally started getting into a rhythm, and then the pandemic hit, and then I had to like build myself back up. So honestly, I just tell people like late 2020 when things started opening up, that was like the real start of my career.
What was that experience like to really start getting into your training? You're pretty much accomplishing your dreams, doing exactly what you want to do, and then the pandemic hits, and then you feel kind of stalled. How did you really take hold of your career to say to yourself, okay, this is something that could be a setback, but I'm going to use it to set myself forward with what I want to do?
There was one thing actually that like really helped me out, and like it was getting to the point where like my parents were like, listen, there's no more wrestling going on. You can't even go to the wrestling school anymore. Like you got to give it up. You got to just work for the family business. Like you gave it a good run, but it's over now. But there was one thing. In AEW, they couldn't fly in extra talent because of obviously the pandemic. So they needed people local to Florida. And MJF was establishing a campaign team. And MJF reached out for me to be part of his campaign team. And he was like, listen, you're going to be part of my campaign team. I'm trying to be the world champ and I need to get it out there. Be part of my campaign team and I can get you some matches on Dark. And you can be part of the company. And I was like, bet, there's nothing else going on. I'm definitely going to do this. I become part of his campaign team. I get some screen time. Super cool. But I'm literally holding MJF's water. I'm carrying his water. Literally. Like, that's not a metaphor. Like, that's what I was doing on TV. And I was like, you know what? It's worth it. I'm going to get those Dark matches and I'm really going to make a point. And then MJF lost the title match, ghosted me, never heard from him since, didn't get those Dark matches. So the people that say MJF's garbage, it's true.
Oh, wow. The exclusive. That's what we live here for. The
Yeah.
exclusive. Did not know that, but I do remember you from that segment. That was one of my favorite segments I call it the pandemic era of AEW.
Yeah.
So, being surrounded by others like MJF and those who are a part of All Elite Wrestling as a whole, please tell us about that, because as you're an aspiring wrestler, that has to be a really heady experience having this on your resume so early in your career.
Yeah, it was super cool. Honestly, I was incredibly nervous. It was my first time like being backstage. I think I went to catering and I took like a bite of chicken, and all of a sudden I could feel it all coming up. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna throw up all over the place in front of like all these wrestlers. But it's just such a laid back atmosphere, and just like creative juices are always flowing. People are always talking. They're super friendly. Like I tried to go up and like shake everyone's hand, but people were coming up to me to shake my hand when I'm just an extra in the building. So it was just like a really cool experience.
That's really nice. Who are some of your favorites that you would, if given the chance, you would love to be in the ring with from AEW?
Ooh, from AEW, Serpentico, definitely. He was my trainer, so I gotta let him know that it's a little one-upsmanship. Like I got a little more in my bag now. Would definitely love to face Serpentico. I don't know if I can say MJF because I don't know if he's even in the company anymore. But if he's not, good riddance. He's gone just like he got rid of me. So, but if he's there, definitely him. I would love to. I love the dynamic of polar opposites. So I would love to get in the ring with Bryan Danielson, really like the wrestler's wrestler. Meanwhile, I was just on Netflix, more flash than technique. So I would love to see how that dynamic comes about. But yeah, those are just a couple.
Very fine picks. Are there any others from any other promotion that you could see yourself wanting to work with in the future if given that opportunity?
Well, if you couldn't tell by me being on reality TV, my favorite wrestler of all time is The Miz. So honestly, I don't even want to fight him. I want to be in a tag team with him. I'll help him take on Logan Paul. Look, I got the blonde hair, I got the beard. I can just be his replacement for Logan Paul. But no, I'm kidding. But definitely The Miz is my favorite of all time. So if I could share the ring with him, that would be sick. Matt Cardona, he's the internet champion, but he's injured right now. Didn't vacate it, so I guess I can become the interim. And then when he gets back, we can have an internet championship. Maybe I'll get a streaming championship, Netflix championship versus internet championship. Would love to see that happen. One more is, I want to have a hair versus hair match with Enzo.
Wow.
I hate his blonde mullet. I think I have the best fake blonde mullet in the game. And so only one can stay, I think.
I love the confidence, Randy. And I love those picks, all very different, but I can envision every last one of them. And the Netflix championship, you need to pitch that because that's actually an awesome idea. I could actually
100%.
Love it. 100% love it. And if MJF watches this, I mean, it looks like you guys have some beef left to
Hey, his scarf started tweeting at me on Twitter, and I was just like, listen, I got bad vibes from that scarf. I got bad vibes from that person. Stay away.
Oh goodness. So this interview will live on in infamy either way. We have a potential feud that's brewing, but in that case, you may have to step over Wardlow and a few others if that's.
Oh man, listen, Wardlow can listen. I don't know if I'd rather face MJF or just see Wardlow powerbomb like 100 more times. I would take that too.
There it is. You're like, vengeance is mine either way.
Right.
So with Netflix, being a part of the Netflix family at this point and being a part of a show in which, as you mentioned earlier, the whole lot of you are placed in the wilderness. You pretty much don't have your own belongings. You're meant to fend for yourself and really take accountability for being a human being and learning life skills. In your opinion, which has been harder, doing that, being in the wilderness among strangers and fending for yourself, or forging a professional wrestling career?
That's tough. I would say in the long run, it would be making forging a wrestling career. But just because of how long and tedious, and you may never make it. I'm still in the process of that right now. But just in a short period, that was tough. I was so malnourished. I came back 20 pounds lighter, and I didn't have much fat to lose to begin with. It was really, really tough. I had to bathe with lake water. I only had a bar of soap, and people were flaming me for my hair in the show because I just had a bar of soap. I need 18 hair products to keep this established and in place, and I had nothing. So just the lack of food, how physically demanding it was, the fact that I hate the outdoors and was surrounded with bugs, that was brutal. and just like the chores of like water, having to go get water every day from the lake, having to make our own food, having to go to the bathroom in just like a hole. It was just such an exhausting and grueling experience.
But you would say it was worth it, just getting through it and coming out on the other side, it seems.
Oh yeah, it was like, it's crazy. Like if you took me back, knowing what I know now, like I knew I was getting into like that show. I think I would still do it just because of like the people I met. They're all great. We still talk to this day, every single day. Matt and Joel, the hosts, they are great people. Joel actually came to one of my matches to support me. That was super cool. And then just like the experience, I really feel like I came back like a new person.
Wonderful. What's one of the most valuable things that you've learned from the experience overall that you will take with you for the rest of your life?
Being able to put myself out there. I've always been very disclosed. I've been closed off, really just focusing about me, not talking much because people wouldn't get it. Like I said, I was like, I'm not going to tell my parents anything about wrestling because I just think they'd be ashamed. But I mean, there's one scene in the show that has to do with a hot tub where, I fall flat on my face and thousands and thousands and thousands of people have saw that. And I mean, I got up, I'm okay at the end of the day. I can fail and I can keep going. So just being vulnerable and putting myself out there, like I really have more confidence doing that now. Now that I experienced the worst possible scenario, I know it can only go up.
Yes, I gasped during that scene because I didn't know what to expect. And I'm sure you at the time didn't know what to expect either.
No.
But I felt so bad. I was like, oh no. I hope this works out. And speaking of with the individual that is a part of that scene, I had a fan question actually for you. And it's from, okay, so her name is Angie Beck. She's actually the mother of the Renegade Twins, who are professional wrestlers. So look out for them. They are phenomenal girls. I've interviewed them also on the show. She wanted to ask you, I got to know if Devon gave him a shot in the end or not.
Well, a gentleman never kisses and tells. I have a girlfriend now that isn't Devon. So whatever did or didn't happen doesn't matter now. That's all I'll say.
Okay. Do you and Devon still talk?
Yeah, we are still friends. We're all in the same group message with the whole cast minus a couple. I'm sure you could guess if you've watched the person that would not be in that group chat. But we all talk every single day. We all keep up with each other's lives and everything.
Oh, that's so lovely. I want to ask just for my personal thoughts, how are Carl? I really liked Carl. Especially from the last 2 episodes, and I'm not going to spoil it for everyone. You have to watch the show. It's phenomenal. But how is he doing these days?
Yeah, he had that problem before we started filming for the show, and it just kept getting aggravated over and over with more challenges that we did. So there was a lot of build up to that moment where like we weren't really sure if he should or he shouldn't go, if he should keep continuing. And so like I feel like when you were watching, it felt like that came out of nowhere. Yes. But like that was a serious concern throughout the entire time. And then obviously what happened, I'm not going to spoil anything. That was the scariest moment of the show by far. Like I've never seen him like that. He's so like tough and always composed, and to see him like that was crazy. But he's good now. I think he said on Instagram he's at like 85%, and I think that maybe him trying to like tough it out. I would guess like 60%. But he's good now. Like doctors say, he's full recovery, back to normal, pretty much. But yeah, he's still on the road to recovery.
That's lovely. In fact, all of you are phenomenal. I really liked watching everyone, and everyone has such different personalities. The Brits, Liam and Rhea, I'm assuming they're back in the UK, or have they decided to move to the US or stay here? I would love to know more about their story. Just Liam and Ray, they are the dynamic. Yeah, they're the dynamic duo. They're they're in the UK still. Ray texts us every single day being like, when can I get a trip over to New York? I need help. I need to get to New York. Everyone's in New York. Come on, guys. We got to get a house together. We got to get an Airbnb.
just a crazy light of positivity and just wants to see everybody all the time. And then Liam, I mean, he's just twerking all over the place on social media, having a blast. So those two you can't replicate those two for sure.
That is amazing. And apologies for mispronouncing her name, but those two, everyone is so funny. Everyone has just great personalities, and including yourself, and seeing all of you grow by the end is really nice. That's a really great thing that you get to see. So yeah, we're hoping for season 2. I don't know if it'll be with new cast members or maybe you all will reappear, but
yeah, there's been a lot more positive feedback than I expected. I mean, I think the only negative feedback I think are people that like watched the first episode and were like, "Oh, these people are unbearable." But the people that kind of stuck around, that's what I tell everyone: watch more than the first episode, and you'll be hooked. Trust me.
I agree, absolutely agree, especially with that twist, which I don't think I've ever seen a twist like that in any reality competition series, and I really loved it because it causes you all to work even harder.
Right.
So that yes, please watch Snowflake Mountain because there are a lot of different twists and turns, but the specific one that I just won't disclose, you have to watch it, really takes the show into a whole new level and really lets you all know that accountability is king. So
right.
Yes, absolutely. So what's next for you, Randy, with your wrestling career? What shows do you have coming up?
Well, what's next? Keep an eye out this coming week for any kind of television wrestling. I'll say that. I may or may not appear on something. Just keep an eye out this week. That's all I'll say. And then July 22nd in Ocoee, Florida. I hope I said that right. That city. Ocoee, I think. Ocoee. Local pro wrestling. I'll be there. I'll be trying to win their promotions championship.
All right. Speaking of, I know exactly the place you're talking of in Florida, but I don't want to butcher it either, so I'm not even going to try. But I did have another fan question. It looks like someone who is very familiar with the Orlando scene, Professor Leisure, asked, what event has the best fans and why is it Mayhem on Mills? I'm not familiar with Mayhem on Mills, but it sounds like you might be, so.
Yeah, Mayhem on Mills is an incredible promotion in Orlando. They and the fans, it's a very interesting atmosphere because it's outside in the parking lot, and like people on Mills Ave literally just walk by and see it, and they come by. Like I'd say 85% of the fans that show up, and they show up to every single show, aren't wrestling fans. Like the only wrestling they watch is at Mayhem on Mills. And so it's a very unique crowd, and they love everything. Especially the guy that asked that question loves to see me get beat up. So that's probably why he's asking that. He gives me a hard time on Twitter all the time.
Oh, wow. Well, shout out to Professor Leisure or Leisure, however, everyone has their different ways of pronouncing it. Thank you for asking that question. And also, Angie, thank you for asking your question as well. It's going to be quite something to see how the rest of this year pans out for you with your Netflix fame. And now you're officially a bona fide, not just reality television star, but you're an up and coming wrestling star as well.
Right.
So with all of that, how has your life really improved having been on Netflix? And now also, I would assume you're using that to your advantage with your wrestling career. How has everything improved for you thus far?
100% it's improved. I've been like grinding, sending out emails to promotions, trying to get booked. And I think since the show came out, this is the first time like promotions have been coming to me, trying to book me. So it's kind of nice to see it start flipping where I'm not putting in all the work, reaching out to all these promotions, and some are coming to me. And then obviously with Netflix, I can start to garner like a little bit of a social media following. So it's kind of cool to use that to my advantage. And I really feel like that's going to be a big help because the people that follow me right now aren't wrestling fans. Like you look at, so I think I'm very valuable to any promotion that would want to book me. Like you look at Claudio, who just debuted in AEW. He has hundreds of thousands of more followers than me, don't get me wrong. But everyone that knows Claudio is from wrestling. Like they found him through wrestling. They probably watch AEW already. I don't know how many new fans Claudio is bringing in because they're wrestling fans. Me, I can bring in, whether it's like my 10,000 followers on Instagram, whatever, they're following me for me, not for wrestling. So if a promotion books me, they're bringing in a new demographic, new fans. And I feel like I can start providing actual value to promotions other than just like wrestling there.
And you make a very excellent point because nowadays we hear a lot about wrestling needing more casual fans and
Right.
detrimental it potentially could be to only have the same type of hardcore wrestling fans. So your point is very valid, and I could only assume that it'll help the business and your career as well as for any promotion as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest goal in wrestling is to make it mainstream again. Like I said, when I was in like middle school, high school, I felt like it was lame. It was for kids. But during the Attitude Era, middle school, high school, like everyone was a wrestling fan. And so I feel like a lot of people use wrestling to go mainstream, to go Hollywood. I want to bring the mainstream to wrestling and make wrestling really explode again.
I love that for you and for all of us. So thank you so much, not only for your candor, but just for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
You're so welcome, Randy. My last question for you really is due to the fact you stated you really started in 2018. That's not that long ago. And I'm sure you have some wisdom that you can impart to anyone watching that would like to get into either wrestling or perhaps reality television. What advice would you have for that person?
For both, just be yourself and remember why you're there. Wrestling, there were many times like we have an evaluation to get into like the advanced class. I failed it twice. And after like the second time, I was just like, man, I'm just not cut out for this. Maybe I should quit. And then I remember like I dropped out of college for this. This is what I've always wanted all my life. I got to give it another shot. So just remember why you're doing it. If you're in it for the money, if you're in it for the fame, you're going to end up giving up. If it's something you really want and you know why you're doing it, then you'll always have a reason to keep going and eventually you'll catch your break.
100% love that. Thank you so much for your wisdom, Randy, and for being a part of FaceTurn with Candace Cordelia. You are always welcome to come back, and good luck. I can't wait to see you on television this week. Who knows?
Maybe not.
We'll be watching either way. So thank you so much, sir. And please, for your social media accounts before we leave, feel free to just broadcast where we can find you, Instagram, Twitter, etc.
Yeah, Twitter, Randy Wentworth 7, Randy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 were taken. So I'm Randy Wentworth 7 on Twitter. Instagram, Randy_Wentworth. Same thing on TikTok. I have like a link in there with all my socials, websites, everything you can find there. So go to one of those and you'll find the rest.
Perfect. Everyone watching, you heard what the man said. Go follow Randy Wentworth, Snowflake Mountain star and professional wrestler, taking the wrestling industry by storm in such a short span of time. We love to see our guests here on FaceTurn with Candace Cordelia. We never know who will appear, but we love to present anyone and everyone who has a wonderful story to share here on the show. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for another episode of FaceTurn with Candace Cordelia. Until then, I will see you soon.